time to dive deeper into the performance of the Mag 7 so far this year. For that, I want to welcome in Matt Tuttle, CEO and CIO, Tuttle Capital Management. Matt, it's good to see you this morning. Let's talk about the Mag 7. They've had a difficult year so far. This year. I mean, you know, one not as bad as the others, but all really underperformed so far this year. What's your take on where we are as it stands as we close out this month and this quarter?
Yeah, I mean, short term, intermediate term, I'm negative on these names. All of them except for Meta are below the 200-day moving average, and pre-market, it looks like Meta is going to take that out. Somewhat simplistic, but nothing good happens below the 200-day moving average. I also think while, you know, the tariff news is what's dominating, there's so much more going on beyond just that, which in and of itself is negative for these names. You know, I think the DeepSeek news was a shot across the bow that, you know, up until then, we'd kind of taken it on faith that all of this CapEx would be great for AI and it would be rewarded. And now we're starting to ask some really uncomfortable questions, you know, about that, and then throw in what's going on politically with Tesla. It's just not a great backdrop for these names right now.
When you say the DeepSeek, obviously they haven't recovered since that DeepSeek sparked sell-off. At the same time, we never really got clarity on how much of that was true with regard to DeepSeek. But can you elaborate on how much of the impact the downtrend that we've seen in the Mag 7 is because of macro, and how much of this is idiosyncratic to just that group?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it is much more, it's a mix of both, really. You know, I think that group ran up, you know, on all of the hype around AI. You know, I think AI has been in a bubble, and it was a bubble in search of a pin, and DeepSeek was that pin. You know, it doesn't help all of the other stuff that's going on with the market, what's coming out of Washington. Again, not just the tariffs, but the tariffs being a part of an overall economic plan that short term, one could argue, and I would, it's not great for the market. So you've got an overall backdrop of so much going on for these stocks. It's just going to be tough here, short term, intermediate term.
Okay, tough short term to intermediate term. We have a chart right now showing how Tesla's performing, down more than 6% in the pre-market today. They've got delivery numbers in front of them. Are you expecting weakness similar to what we're hearing from other experts following this?
You know, I am. I don't see Tesla as just a car company. You know, longer term, I see Tesla as an extremely important and maybe the leader in physical AI, you know, things like self-driving robotics. But shorter term, intermediate term, I mean, Elon's got a problem. You know, this was not a great weekend for Tesla. You know, and it's going to take a while, unfortunately, for that to filter through.
Okay, and then what about Nvidia? Shares right now also down in the pre-market. Again, overall, we're seeing broad-based declines in terms of the direction of futures, but Nvidia seems to be its own story, especially given the performance of CoreWeave and its investment there. What do you make of it now, and is there a catalyst that you see in the near term for Nvidia?
So there isn't. You know, long-term, Nvidia is going to be the obvious winner from AI. And an important thing for people to remember is even if you bought like an Amazon at the very top of the internet bubble, you know, yeah, you had short-term pain, but you made out really, really, really well. You know, Nvidia is the long-term winner. Short-term, though, again, so much going on that, you know, I would not be owning it here. I don't see a catalyst to, you know, say, hey, we're going to take out the highs here.
And then given your current view about the weakness that you're seeing in Mag 7, are there any sectors that you like better?
Not right now. I mean, right now, I'd be looking for dips to get into gold and gold miners. I mean, those have run up so high, that would be a tough one. European aerospace and defense has been something that's been great. I mean, our EUAD ETF is up a ridiculous amount, but again, I'd be looking to get into dips on that. China is an area, but I'd be looking for dips there. Nothing right now. I'd be pounding the table saying, hey, you've got to be buying today. I would be waiting for more dips to come in and to be able to get things at better levels.
I was going to ask you about gold. I'm glad that you mentioned that, but I want to ask you about Meta. You talked about its performance related to the rest of the Mag 7. What do you attribute its kind of relative resilience?
Well, I mean, it looks like it's going to break the 200-day today. So I don't know that there is relative resilience there. All of these companies, are the future. I mean, if you look at all the different areas of AI, and, we spend a lot of time researching these companies with AI. And, for this sector, who are the winners or who are the potential winners? And the Magnificent Seven is always there. So long term, I think Meta is going to be great. Short term, looks like it's going to break the 200-day, and I wouldn't be a buyer right now.
Okay, not a buyer of Meta or the rest of the Mag 7. Right now, Meta is under pressure in the pre-market, down 2% in the pre-market. Matt, thanks a ton for your analysis of the Magnificent 7 and beyond. That's Matt Tuttle, CEO and CIO, Tuttle Capital Management.